Laziness and dishonesty, the root of mysticism. The difference between these two types of immortality, the imaginary and lazy immortality of the mystical imaginary soul, versus the reality-based hard work physical immortality of Zon, illustrates the key difference between the mystical mind and the non-mystical mind. The difference is in the laziness and subsequent intellectual dishonesty of the mystical mind, and in the diligence and subsequent intellectual honesty of the non-mystical mind, i.e., Zon. Biological organisms are required to exert mental effort in order to produce integrated, reality-based thought. The mystic is one who habitually avoids making this effort, defaulting to lazy, easy thinking. This is a deceptive type of easiness, however, because the short-term value of the easy thinking of the mystic always comes at the price of a far greater long-term loss of values. Like all habits, the longer one defaults to mysticism, the harder it is to break the habit of mysticism. Mental laziness thus leads to a weaker mind. Over time, it becomes increasingly difficult for the mystic to adopt a non-mystical mindset. Hence the need for carefully crafted eumysticisms as a way of surreptitiously breaking down more harmful mysticisms, and acting as a stepping stone towards actual non-mysticism. The habitually non-mystical Zon, however, is continually increasing in the capacity for reality-based thinking. The effort required actually becomes a sort of pleasure in its own right, and eventually becomes a semi-automatic process, somewhat like breathing. Breathing proceeds in both a conscious and an unconscious manner. One can consciously control one's breathing in various ways, and yet one's breathing will continue without conscious control as well. For habitually non-mystical human beings, a protracted period of intense, consciously directed, integrated thinking can lead to a desire for a period of mental rest. Even in the time of rest, however, the mind will carry on thinking in a largely, although not necessarily exclusively, non-mystical fashion, albeit in a less consciously directed way. The mystical morality of religion versus the non-mystical ethics of Zon. One's methods for making all sorts of choices in one's life is largely dependent upon one's belief system, i.e., one's beliefs about the world, and about various aspects of the world and the things in it, and also of the methods which one uses to determine one's beliefs. One's belief system may either be mystical, irrational, and non-reality based, or it may be non-mystical, rational, and reality-based. For most of human history, the prevailing and most widely adopted belief systems were those of religion. They posited all sorts of supernatural entities and prescribed all sorts of behaviors based, in some fashion, upon these posited entities. Typically, this involved following the orders or commandments of, or otherwise appeasing or conforming to, a single all-powerful God, or some collection of gods, or various types of spirits, or some supernatural principle, or some combination of these. According to such religions, those behaviors are generally considered moral which agree with the supernaturally based prescriptions. Conversely, those behaviors are generally considered immoral which are counter to such supernaturally based prescriptions. All such supernatural belief systems are forms of philosophical supernaturalism. Since philosophical supernaturalism is based upon some denial of reason and reality, and since there are essentially infinite ways of denying reason and reality, there are essentially infinite varieties of philosophical supernaturalism, all of which inherently contain contradictions of reason and reality. Any so-called morality which is based upon such philosophical supernaturalism, must also inherently contain contradictions of reason and reality. The alternative to philosophical supernaturalism, is philosophical naturalism. Philosophical naturalism embraces reason and reality. Whereas there are unlimited ways of denying reason and reality, and only one way of adhering to reason and reality, there is essentially only one ultimate form of philosophical naturalism. Of course, Since new information is always coming to light, philosophical naturalism never claims to have absolute truth regarding all things, but integrates any new information which becomes available, thus undergoing a process leading to ever-increasing accuracy and efficacy. This is unlike the stance of philosophical supernaturalism, which tends to deny or ignore new contradictory information. Because of its firm adherence to rationality and reality, philosophical naturalism results in choices and behaviors, and in an overall ethical or moral system, which are likewise firmly based upon rationality and reality. This is not to say that every choice, whether involving ethics or not, will be absolutely optimum, due to the possibility of unknown factors. It will, however, be the optimum choice based upon all currently available information. Here is an excerpt from the Protocols of Psionics, published by Psionics Publishing. Psionics is the invincible philosophy, science, and technology of the fully integrated application of philosophical naturalism. The term psionics, like the word science, is derived from the Latin root scire, meaning to know. Psionics entails the full utilization of, and adherence to, reality-based scientifically valid criteria for developing, evaluating, and integrating concepts and beliefs. The psionics protocols maximize an individual's capability to respond to all situations with understanding, rationality, control, and love, potentiating the extraction of maximum hedonic value from all situations. The Scio-Illuminati, the mathematicoi and true masters of the Illuminati, would prefer to directly promote the revolutionary psionics protocols to all of humanity. It would be wonderful if everyone would recognize for themselves the unrivaled advantages of this ultimate form of non-mystical philosophical naturalism. The sad fact, however, is that the vast majority of individuals are so blinded by mysticism that they are simply unable to recognize the power, scope, and value of psionics. Thus it is that the mysticism of these individuals must be attacked in a more surreptitious manner. The Gnostic Illuminati attempts to break individuals free from harmful traditional religious mysticisms and moral systems, by replacing these with much more positive eumysticisms and moral systems. While this is certainly a valuable and powerful technique for reducing the stranglehold of religious mysticism, it often does not eliminate it completely. As such, it is not a final solution to the problem of mysticism, but is merely a step along the path. It is simply a tool we have developed to facilitate the transition from mysticism to non-mysticism. It must be remembered that it is certain members of the Scio-Illuminati who actually head the Gnostic Illuminati. Psionics embraces more than simply ethics, of course. It ultimately embraces every human activity and every aspect of reality. The eumystical teachings of the Gnostic Illuminati run parallel to the wide-scope teachings of the Scio-Illuminati, as a means of extending the widest possible eumystical net, for the purpose of beneficially entrapping and converting the mystic to non-mysticism. Freedom from this eumystical net is truly achieved, not through some eumystical gnosis, but through the complete non-mysticism of the psionics protocols.